the ASHEN one. Every year, on the day of the summer solstice, the village of Mokhovaya, beyond the Zilin River, held the festival of fire. People gathered on an ancient burial mound, sang old songs, danced in circles, lit bonfires, and threw old belongings into the flames. Symbols of a past that needed to be cast off. But no one remembered anymore why, on this day, someone always stood guard by the village chapel bell to make sure it didn't ring on its own. No one asked why it was forbidden to go near the river after midnight. No one asked who Oksana Zorina was, the name carved into the stone at the ruins of the old mill, as if someone had tried to forget her but couldn't. Oksana was born in that village, a fair-haired, quiet girl with eyes the color of an eclipse. From an early age, she said she had dreams in which women with wreaths of ash came to her and whispered in a language she didn't know, but somehow deeply understood. She collected dried herbs, lit candles in an abandoned shed, and painted symbols on the walls. Symbols that made adults' faces go slack and their heads spin. Old Evdokia, the midwife and healer, used to whisper, "She didn't come by our will. The river brought her. There's old blood in her." From the times when the earth knew no church. Oksana grew older, and her strangeness only deepened. Cats followed her everywhere. Birds froze in mid-flight if she stared at them too long. The village boys were afraid of her, yet whispered about her at night as if she were an enchantment. The girls avoided her, and mothers crossed themselves and their children whenever she passed. She turned 18 during a summer of unbearable heat. People said the sun scorched the land because God had turned away. That's when it began. First, 3 sheep went missing. Their shadows, they said, no longer cast the shape of animals. Then the water in the village's edge well turned red as rust and stank of sulfur. Finally, on the eve of the festival, the blacksmith's young son said he saw a woman in a dress white as milk, and she had no face. He screamed and never spoke again. The elders gathered in secret and decided this could not go on. Fear was growing among the people, and fear demands a sacrifice. Suddenly, everyone remembered how Oksana's mother had come to the village 19 years ago during a storm, nameless, husbandless, her belly full of fate. They remembered how 9 months later, a girl was born, and ever since then, only misfortune. The decision was made in silence. At dawn on the solstice, they came to her. 6 men and 2 women entered the house, heavy with incense and dried flowers. She was waiting. She stood in the center of the room, in a black dress with silver thread, a symbol on her forehead, an inverted triangle with a dot inside. "I thought you'd have the courage to come at night," she said quietly, "but you still hide in the light. Do you think it will protect you?" No one answered. They bound her, led her out, and brought her to the mound. The crowd had gathered but stood in silence. Some turned away. Some watched with horror. Others with relief. At the top stood a pyre of brushwood, entwined with dry herbs, a symbol of purification, this time of a different kind. They lit the fire as the sun reached its zenith. No one heard her words through the crackling flames, but later they said the ground trembled when the fire touched her feet. that the smoke formed shapes of women with wreaths of black ash, that a raven perched on the chapel's cross cried out with a human voice. 17 years passed. During all that time, the festival of fire was not held. Not because it was forbidden, simply no one could. The village grew gray and lifeless. The land grew barren. The river dried up, and even the rain seemed reluctant to fall. Then one day, a young teacher from the city, Varya Semyonova, arrived in Mokhovaya by assignment. She was immediately enveloped by a strange feeling, as though returning to a place she'd only seen in dreams. She found strange symbols carved into stones, heard women's voices at night. Her reflection in mirrors sometimes blinked out of sync. She tried to leave, but every road led her back, no matter how she traveled. One day, sorting through the archives of the old school, Varya found a yellowed newspaper clipping with no title. It spoke of a folk purification ceremony 17 years ago. No names, no details. But on the back, someone had written, "She will return when the bell rings again." The next day, Varya went to the ruined chapel. The bell hung askew, half buried in grass. When she touched it, it shuddered and rang. At first, muffled like underwater. Then, louder, a ringing that shook the bones. The village froze. People stepped out of their homes, all wearing the same expression. Recognition. Varya stood still, her eyes unblinking. The wind tangled her hair. Her gaze darkened, became bottomless. And a voice, unfamiliar but hers, whispered, "You lit the fires again, and now I burn once more." That night, the village of Mokhovaya vanished. In its place, only ash. Scorched stones, grass black as charred bone, not a single living thing. Only a girl in a wreath of dried flowers standing by the ruined chapel. Her face blurs like smoke. She waits. Every summer, on the solstice, the sound of the bell echoes over that place. No one knows from where. Pilgrims come, seeking truth, legend, origin. But those who stay past midnight never return. And at night, if you listen closely, the wind whispers, "I am the one who burned, but did not vanish. I am the ash into which those who burn me shall turn." Fragments from a diary entry 1. Age 12. I saw them again today. The women with ash wreaths. They don't speak in words, but I understand. They are from the burned ones. Each has her own name, but one voice. I am their echo. Mother says I'm special, but her eyes are full of fear. I don't want her to be afraid. Entry 3. Age 14. For the first time, I heard a name. The Flame Bride. That's what they called the leader among the burned ones. She wasn't a witch, like people think. She was the keeper of the sun. When the world was young, she was trusted to hold winter's hand so it wouldn't swallow spring. People worshipped her. Then came the fire they themselves lit. A fire where no prayers were said, only accusations. Entry 6, age 15. Today the river spoke to me. Spoke in the voice of stones and algae. It said, "Blood remembers you?" What does that mean? I don't feel like I belong to myself. My hands remember herbs I've never gathered and songs I've never learned. Entry 9, age 16. The blacksmith spat at my feet. They say I cursed his son. People don't understand. I see I don't bring harm. Misfortune doesn't come from me. It comes to me because I reflect it. Sometimes I think, if I disappeared, maybe fear would too. But then I hear them again, the ones in the fire, and I know I must stay till the end. Final entry. Age 18. Today is the solstice. They will come for me. Everything is as it should be. I fear pain, but not death. She is my sister. I remember being burned before. In dreams, I feel my skin turn to ash. I see my name carved in stone. And still, I return, every time, because the circle hasn't closed, and this time, I won't go alone. Myth. The Flame Bride and the Ashen Brides. A retelling found on the back of an old icon in the chapel. When the gods divided the light, the woman with the wreath was given the fire of souls. She was to ignite hearts and keep the spark of longing. But people, envious of her power, named her a witch. And they burned her at the spring where water boils even in winter. Where her ash touched earth, women rose from the dust. The Ashen Brides. They do not seek revenge. They return to close the circle, until their names are spoken, until the flame acknowledges its daughters. Teacher's note. The day before the village disappeared, I no longer sleep. I dream symbols that I draw with my hands while asleep. Yesterday, I looked into my reflection, and it blinked before I did. It smiles when I cry. Today I heard a voice. You are her path back, and I know who it meant. Oksana. They burned her. Her ashes in my bones. I am not Varya. I am the vessel.